Animation is not the art of drawings that move, but the art of movements that are drawn, said Norman McLaren. Animation has been such an integral part of our daily lives now that we cannot imagine a life without it. But a century ago, this is not how animation was. Animation has gone through a tremendous change from the time it had been discovered to the time we see it today. The changes have been due to contributions from great technologies as well as some great minds. In this video, we will learn about the milestone achievements in the field of animation. Everything started way back in time in SHAHR-E SUKHTEH, burnt city. During the archaeological excavations at the burnt city in the 1970s, archaeologists found a pottery vessel with interesting drawings on it. The artifact had 5 images depicting a wild goat jumping up to eat the leaves of a tree. When the vessel is twisted, the images merge and make a bounce back animation telling the story of the goat eating from a tree. This also means that the world's oldest cartoon character is a goat. Leonardo drew the Vitruvian Man, also known as the proportions of the human body according to Vitruvius, in 1492. Rendered in pen, ink, and metal point on paper, the piece depicts an idealized male model standing within a square and a circle. Ingeniously, Leonardo chose to depict the man with 4 legs and 4 arms, allowing him to strike 16 poses simultaneously. The 4 drawings can be read as a rotating movement. The magic lantern, also known by its Latin name Lanterna Magica, is an early type of image projector that used pictures, paintings, prints, or photographs on transparent plates, usually made of glass, one or more lenses, and a light source. It was developed in the 16th century by Christian Huygens and commonly used for entertainment purposes. The oldest known document concerning the magic lantern is a page on which Christian Huygens made 10 small sketches of a skeleton taking off its skull, above which he wrote, "For representation by means of convex glasses with the lamp." A thaumatrope is considered to be an optical toy. It is made up of a disc with a picture on each side attached to 2 pieces of string. When the strings are twirled quickly between the fingers, the 2 pictures appear to blend into one due to the persistence of vision. Thaumatropes can provide an illusion of motion and are often seen as the important antecedents of motion pictures and in particular to animation. The name thaumatrope translates roughly as wonder turner. The PHENAKITOSCOPE was the first widespread animation device that created a fluent illusion of motion. It comes in the form of a spinning cardboard disc attached vertically to a handle. Arrayed radially around the disc's center is a series of pictures showing sequential phases of the animation. Small rectangular apertures are spaced evenly around the rim of the disc. The user would spin the disc and look through the moving slits at the images reflected in a mirror. The scanning of the slits across the reflected images keeps them from simply blurring together so that the user can see a rapid succession of images that appear to be a single moving picture. A zoetrope is basically a cylindrical variation of the phenakistoscope. The zoetrope works on the same principle as its predecessor, the phenakistoscope, but is more convenient and allows the animation to be viewed by several people at the same time. Instead of being radially arrayed on a disc, The sequence of pictures depicting phases of motion is on a paper strip. For viewing, this is placed against the inner surface of the lower part of an open-topped metal drum, the upper part of which is provided with a vertical viewing slit across from each picture. The drum, on a spindle base, is spun. The faster the drum is spun, the smoother the animation appears. A flip book, also known as a flick book, is a booklet with a series of images that very gradually change from one page to the next, so that when the pages are viewed in quick succession, the images appear to animate by simulating motion or some other change. The oldest known documentation of the flip book appeared in September 1868 when it was patented by John Barnes Linnet under the name kinograph, which means moving picture. They were the first form of animation to employ a linear sequence of images rather than circular as in the older PHENAKITOSCOPE. The PRAXINOSCOPE is the successor to the ZOETROPE. It was invented in France in 1877 by Charles-Émile Renaud. The PRAXINOSCOPE improved on the ZOETROPE by replacing its narrow viewing slits with an inner circle of mirrors placed so that the reflection of the pictures appeared more or less stationary in position as the wheel turned. Someone looking in the mirrors would therefore see a rapid succession of images, producing the illusion of motion with a brighter and less distorted picture than the zoetrope offered. Humorous Faces or Funny Faces is a 1906 silent animated cartoon directed by James Stewart Blackton and generally regarded by film historians as the first animated film recorded on standard picture film. In the cartoon, animated hand-drawn scenes appear on a chalkboard, including a clown playing with a hat and a dog jumping through a hoop. In the beginning, the hands of the cartoonist is included as he draws the first several lines on the chalkboard in standard live action. From there, the stop motion technique is used to show what appears to be drawings completing and then moving by themselves with no artist on screen. Stop motion as well as cutout animation is used and the film moves at 20 frames per second. Phantasmagorie is a 1908 French animated film by Émile Cole. It is one of the earliest examples of traditional hand-drawn animation and considered by film historians to be the first animated cartoon. The film largely consists of a stickman moving about and encountering all manner of morphing objects, such as a wine bottle that transforms into a flower which becomes an elephant. There are also sections of live action where the animator's hand enters the scene. The main character is drawn by the artist's hand on camera. The film was created by drawing each frame on paper and then shooting each frame onto a negative film, which gave the picture a blackboard look. It was made up of 700 drawings, each of which was exposed twice, leading to a running time of almost 2 minutes. Gertie the Dinosaur is a 1914 animated short film by American cartoonist and animator Winsor McCay. It is the earliest animated film to feature a dinosaur. Gertie was McCay's first piece of animation with detailed backgrounds. McCay was concerned with accurate timing and motion. He timed his own breathing to determine the timing of Gertie's breathing, and included subtle details such as the ground sagging beneath Gertie's great weight. McCay pioneered the McCay split system of animation, in which major poses or positions were drawn first and the intervening frames were drawn after. This relieved tedium and improved the timing of the film's actions. Felix the Cat is a funny animal cartoon character created in the silent film era. An anthropomorphic black cat With white eyes, a black body, and a giant grin, he is one of the most recognized cartoon characters in film industry. Felix was the first animated character to attain a level of popularity sufficient to draw movie audiences. Felix originated from the studio of Australian cartoonist Pat Sullivan. The animation was drawn on white paper with inkers tracing the drawings directly. The animators drew backgrounds onto pieces of celluloid which were then laid atop the drawings to be photographed. Any perspective work had to be animated by hand as the studio cameras were unable to perform pans or trucks. Steamboat Willie is a 1928 American animated short film directed by Walt Disney and UB Iwerks. It was produced in black and white by Walt Disney Studios. The cartoon is considered to be the debut of Mickey Mouse and his girlfriend Minnie, although both characters appeared several months earlier in a test screening of Plain Crazy. Steamboat Willie is especially notable for being the first Disney cartoon with synchronized sound, as well as the first cartoon to feature a fully post-produced soundtrack. The film has received wide critical acclaim, not only for introducing one of the world's most popular cartoon characters, but also for its technical innovation. Merry Melodies is an American animated series of comedy short films produced by Warner Brothers from 1931 to 1969 during the golden age of American animation. As with its sister series Looney Tunes, it featured cartoon characters such as Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, and Elmer Fudd. Between 1934 and 1943, the Merry Melodies series were distinguished from the black and white by an emphasis on one-shot stories in color featuring Warner Brothers' owned musical selections. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is a 1937 American animated musical fantasy film produced by Walt Disney Productions. Based on the 1812 German fairy tale by the Brothers Grimm, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs uses an animation process known as cell animation. This form of animation makes use of sequential hand-drawn frames, usually done on a stack of paper. This allows the animator to flip the pages back and forth, checking the sequence of movements in a way similar to that of a flipbook. To aid with this process, of which is time-consuming, keyframes, storyboards, and final designs are usually established before the main body of animating work is commenced. Once the animation is mostly complete, the drawings will be traced with ink onto plastic cells or transparent sheets, painted and then compiled together over the background art to create the final animation. The Flintstones was the first primetime animated show on TV. The show was so successful it established Hanna-Barbera as the largest producer of animated films. Hanna-Barbera Productions used limited animation with its emphasis on character close-ups and dialogue-based humor. Limited animation is a process in the overall technique of traditional animation of creating animated cartoons that does not redraw entire frames but variably reuses common parts between frames. Yogi Bear is an anthropomorphic funny animal who has appeared in numerous comic books, animated television shows, and films. He made his debut in 1958 as a supporting character in the Huckleberry Hound show. Yogi Bear was the first breakout character in animated television. He was created by Hanna-Barbera and was eventually more popular than Huckleberry Hound. In January 1961, he was given his own show, The Yogi Bear Show, sponsored by Kellogg's. Yogi was one of the several Hanna-Barbera characters to have a collar. This allowed animators to keep his body static, redrawing only his head in each frame when he spoke. One of the methods used by Hanna-Barbera to cut costs by reducing the number of drawings needed for a 7-minute cartoon from around 14,000 to around 2,000. The Pink Fink, 1964, is an animated short film directed by Friz Freleng. It was the first cartoon in the long-running Pink Panther animated series and the debut cartoon for D. Patty Freleng. It was the first Oscar-winning debut shot for an upstart cartoon studio, a feat that has been accomplished since. The title music to the Pink Panther is one of the most recognizable themes in film history. Fritz the Cat is a 1972 American adult animated black comedy film written and directed by Ralph Bakshi. Produced on a budget of $7 lakh, the film was intended by Bakshi to broaden the animation market so that it would be seen as being a medium that could tell more dramatic or satirical storylines with larger scopes, dealing with more mature and diverse themes, as animation was seen predominantly as a children's medium at that time period. The intention of featuring profanity, sex, and drug use, particularly cannabis, provoked criticism from more conservative members of the animation industry. The Motion Picture Association of America gave the film an X rating, making it the first American animated film to receive the rating. The Adventures of Andre and Wally B is a 1984 American animated short film produced by the Graphics Group. The animation was groundbreaking by the standards of the time and helped spark the film industry's interest in computer animation, featuring the first use of motion blur in CG animation and complex 3D backgrounds where the lighting styles and colors were made using particle systems. They pushed the envelope by asking for manipulatable shapes capable of squash and stretch style, as earlier CG models had generally been restricted to rigid geometric shapes. It was rendered on a supercomputer and 10 super mini computers. The Simpsons is an American animated sitcom created by Matt Groening for the Fox Broadcasting Company. Since its debut on December 17, 1989, 689 episodes of The Simpsons have been broadcast. It is the longest running American sitcom and the longest running American scripted primetime television series, both in terms of seasons and number of episodes. Jurassic Park is a 1993 American science fiction adventure film directed by Steven Spielberg. The dinosaurs were created with groundbreaking computer generated imagery and with life sized animatronic dinosaurs. Special effects work on the film include creating new technology called dinosaur input devices, where models which fed information into computers allowed them to animate the characters like stop motion puppets. In addition, they acted out scenes with the raptors, which were later digitized. Toy Story is an iconic animated movie, but it also changed the animation world forever upon its release in 1995. The biggest way that Toy Story changed animation was by implementing computer animation. As the first full-length computer animated film, Toy Story is reportedly the first movie to be able to store characters, sets, and more on computers. This is one of the dramatic changes from hand-drawn animation, as it meant animators no longer had to redraw everything for each frame. One CGI masterpiece that comes to mind is Gollum in The Lord of the Rings. When signing up for the role of Gollum, actor Andy Serkis was relatively in the dark with the entire motion capture concept. In fact, most of the movie industry was. But this role was the start of something huge for CGI in films. To create Gollum, actor Andy Serkis had to wear a kind of costume which was a tight grey unitard and a small little sensors all over his body and face. The sensors captured his body movements and facial expressions, and this allows the computer to create a replicated 3D model of the movements and the creating of the physical appearance of Gollum. Avatar: is a 2009 American epic science fiction film directed by James Cameron. The film made extensive use of new motion capture filming techniques. Innovations include a new system for lighting massive areas like Pandora's Jungle, a motion capture stage or volume 6 times larger than any previously used, and an improved method of capturing facial expressions, enabling full performance capture. To achieve the face capturing, actors wore individually made skull caps fitted with a tiny camera positioned in front of the actors' faces. The information collected about their facial expressions and eyes is then transmitted to computers. Paranorman is a 2012 American stop motion animated dark fantasy comedy horror film directed by Sam Fell and Chris Butler. Paranorman is the first ever stop motion film to use full color 3D printers for replacement animation. Leica's previous film Coraline had pioneered and popularized the use of black and white 3D printers, which sped up puppet production considerably and allowed the team to make the large number of puppet faces required for the film. Thus, it can be seen that the evolution of animation had come a long way from simple sketches to detailed computer based animation. The journey has not been a smooth ride, but only by overcoming the obstacles and facing a lot of failures has the field of animation reached this stage today. Hence, it is the hard work as well as the creative minds of the great caricaturist which led to the wonderful world of animation come into existence and develop as an entire industry in itself.